And I just went through this. Oh, the book has two basic things, all right? Events or groups. You might be the last survivor of an event, for instance, the last Union veteran of the Civil War, or you might be the last survivor of a group, for instance, the last major living star of Gone with the Wind. By the way, does anyone know who the last major surviving? Olivia de Havilland. Is that Eric? Okay, Eric. By the way, I know Eric. I'm going to tell him, okay? Eric was on Jeopardy and won 3 straight Jeopardy matches. Four straight Jeopardy matches when he was on there a number of years ago. So, happy it took someone like you to answer that one. Next. And it just mentions the website. Okay, I've got some here, okay? In my chapter on disasters, I have the last survivor of Titanic. Okay? However, I don't have an answer. Because there are 3 people. There's one woman who's alive. She lives in Massachusetts. She was 6 years old when the Titanic went down. And obviously she did not go down with it. And the other 2 were just babies, and both of these women live in the UK now. So since there's 3 last survivors, they're not in the book. However, I do have these 3 things in the book. Because there was a last male survivor, and there's a last officer. And here's some examples of some of the things I have in the book. Thomas Edison. Now here, again, it's rather subjective. I had to decide who did I consider the best-known 19th century inventors. So that's my opinion. So I chose 13 of them. And of those, Thomas Edison died in the early 1930s, so he was the last living one. This one, the Donner Party, if you remember that, the cannibalism incident, there were 87 people in the party, and the last living one was Margaret Green, who was only a year old at the time, and she lived into the 1930s. She did not, by the way, remember anything about it. Again, I decided who the famous 1930s criminals were. All right, Dillinger, Ma Barker, Bonnie and Clyde, you name them, they're in the book. And the last one was Carpus, who died of natural causes at the age of 72. And Alice Paul was the great champion for the right of women to vote, and she was the last of the great leaders of the early 1900s.